All right, good morning from the National Weather Service in Raleigh, North Carolina. My name is Aaron Swiggett, meteorologist here at the office, and I will be covering the routine weekly briefing starting on Tuesday, since we did not do it yesterday given the holiday. But this will be covering Tuesday through Monday, so January 2nd through the 8th. And thank you to my coworker who I had already forgotten to change the year on this to 2024, so not starting off good from my standpoint, but we have good friends to look out for us, right? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming weather pattern. We're going to be in a pretty active pattern. We have been for the most part, and that continues through this briefing as well. So we're going to be quiet on this weather through today, through Wednesday. You can kind of see in the upper left-hand panel here, mostly just high pressure kind of hanging out over the area. Some dry frontal passages may move through, reinforcing cold shots, but for the most part, dry and cool weather. On Wednesday, we'll have an area of low pressure that develops over the northern Gulf of Mexico region, and fairly weak low pressure system and transitory for the most part. So as that tracks north and east into the area, mainly expecting some light rain chances, mainly south and east of Raleigh, and that's Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. And then we'll have a little bit of a period of dry weather late week and late into the work week, but heading into the weekend, early Saturday, another area of low pressure, and you may sense a trend here, develops in the northern Gulf of Mexico region and tracks northeast into and through our area. This will be a stronger system, so we'll bring more chances for widespread precipitation and potentially even some wintry precipitation on the onset, and we'll get to that here in a second. And then behind this system, again, if you're sensing a trend, high pressure builds in and hangs out over the area for a few days, keeping the conditions dry Sunday through Monday, and a majority of Monday as well. But you can kind of see in this bottom right-hand panel here as well, another system, this one developing over the Southern Plains, Texas kind of area, will be an even stronger system, and that one will track east Monday and potentially even bringing some moderate to heavy rainfall into our area heading into Tuesday. That is outside the scope of this, but there's above average confidence in a wet pattern early to midweek, so I did want to make sure I mentioned that here today. Okay, so let's take a final look at Saturday. So I mentioned the wintry precipitation. I uttered those words out into the universe, so I wanted to take a final look at that as well. So first Saturday, for the most part, we're expecting minimum temperatures to be in the low 30s to upper 20s early Saturday morning, mainly overnight and late Friday into Saturday morning. And so what that will do as precipitation kind of moves in, you can kind of see we have a possible onset. So as the precipitation falls, for the most part, we're not expecting any ice crystal potential as it falls out of the clouds. So the mostly will be super cooled water droplets. And as they fall into below freezing temperatures, we may see a period of time of freezing rain, maybe some initial onset of potentially sleet, but mostly we're expecting freezing rain potential for this time. This is the main potential. Again, I'm saying potential, so it's not guaranteed by any means, but everything is kind of pointing more towards freezing rain being at least a brief onset of freezing rain as the main wintry precipitation type for this potential or for this event. So snow is unlikely, unfortunately, for all the snow lovers out there. But you can kind of see on the graphic here, possible onset for the precipitation, you know, right around 4 to 6 a.m. or so in the triad, around potentially 6 a.m. As you're getting up in towards the Burlington, Durham area, Roxborough area, 6 to 8 a.m. somewhere on the northeastern Piedmont, and potentially, if temperatures had not warmed up into above 30s, above 32 at this time, maybe even a very brief window up towards Halifax County there. So again, in disclaimer, I'll have it on this graphic and the next graphic. Timing on this may change as we get closer to the event, so be sure to get your latest and greatest information from our webpage, weather.gov/RA, or you can spell out Raleigh, either way. Okay, and the next big question, when will temperatures rise above 32? So I had that graphic here for you guys, so check that out. Hopefully labeled well enough so you can see that. But for the most part, just expect that temperatures will be warming from south to north, through the early morning on Saturday, maybe even lingering up towards like 9 or 10 a.m. or so, right around the Triad, or maybe more specifically out in like Winston-Salem, Roxborough kind of area. But for the most part, generally expect a warming trend from south to north Saturday, and then the precipitation is most likely going to start off light, but then get heavier with time as the low pressure system approaches. So again, we're mostly expecting this to be some light accumulations, if any, and then fleeting as heavier rain with above freezing temperatures to be then raining on top of at any, if any, but any accumulations that may develop. So we're keeping a close eye on this time frame and providing some details. I don't have any amounts for you guys today. We are just outside of the amounts accumulation that we forecast. So with the afternoon update that we do today, you may see some accumulations in the graphics that we create on our webpage. So keep an update on and look out for that. But with that, I will move on from Saturday. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the questions box there. Okay, so we're gonna look ahead here. So today, dry, the upper left-hand panel here. Wednesday, for the most part, fairly dry. The only accumulation is mostly expected south and east of the Raleigh area. You can see in the light green, and then the darker greens mainly pinned to the coast. Thursday, dry. Friday should be mostly dry. Just a reminder that this graphic does include overnight Friday into early Saturday. So this graphic ends 7 a.m. Saturday. So most of this is going to be expected on early Saturday morning. So Friday should be dry. And then, as I kind of hinted at earlier, the heavier precipitation moves in on Saturday afternoon, and then with mostly amounts right around that 1 to 2, maybe some pockets of 2.5 south and east of the low, as it kind of moves through the area with the better shot at some heavier precipitation, maybe down towards like the Fayetteville, Wilmington, Rocky Mount kind of area, the coastal plain region along the I-95 corridor. We'll mainly have the better shot at maybe some heavier totals there. And then the 5-day total, for the most part, with light accumulations on Wednesday. All of this is mainly on Saturday, so the graphic should look very similar there. Oops, so jump the gun there. Okay, I just wanted to include these graphics because there may have been a question with low kind of tracking into our area. For the most part, through the time frame, either confidence is too low or the predictability is too low on any kind of severe weather at this time through the area. As we get a little bit closer, we may kind of hone in and we may see some probability show up, but at this time, in this time range, not expecting any severe weather at this time. And similarly with not really any heavy precipitation in the next 3 days, no flash flooding, heading into ending out the work week. Some isolated flash flooding may be possible on Saturday with those heavier rainfall rates coming in or more widespread rain coming in. Rates shouldn't be entirely too aggressive there. Maybe some better rainfall rates along the I-95 corridor, as I mentioned kind of earlier, where the higher totals may be. But for the most part, any flash flooding will most likely be confined to isolated flash flooding, I should say, will be confined to mainly urban and poor drainage areas there. And more details on that as we get closer to that event. Okay, so how's the drought looking? We've been in a pretty wet pattern here. So you can see on the top left there is the current graphic that was posted on Thursday, this past Thursday, a whole year ago, as it were. But as that changed, for the most part, you can kind of see that really only the changes have occurred within the D2 severe drought, maybe some minor tweaks across our area, but mostly just a category decrease over mostly western North Carolina as we had some good rain, good soaking rain out in that general area there. Okay, and then here is the experimental hazardous weather outlook here. A couple different yellows popping up on the map in that 4 to 5 day time frame there. So it's enough to talk about it, but not close enough where we can really provide too many details with any level of confidence. So I just wanted to highlight the ice accumulation one here, and that is the one that I had clicked on there. If you never visited this page, it's very handy. You can click on all these different boxes and it'll show you different maps where those threat impacts are expected. And to find that, you just go right to our webpage, weather.gov/Raleigh, and click on this icon here that looks like this. It should say something like graphical hazards underneath of it. But yeah, I just want to highlight the most likely and climatological area of best chance for some freezing rain and maybe some potential accumulation. You hear Nick Petro often talk about the I-85 corridor and north. Climatologically, that is our favored area for cold air to hang on a little bit longer, and may see that changeover to some wintry precipitation type. So this graphic kind of highlights that kind of well. And a shout out to Nick Petro, who may be watching or may not be. Okay, the last thing I wanted to mention is that above average confidence in some heavy rain. I know this is outside of our time frame. This is starting Tuesday of next week. But you can see a very large area of some slight to moderate chances of some heavy rainfall across our area. So yet that system that I had mentioned in the central and southern plains on Monday, that will track eastward and bring that potential for the risk for heavy rain. So keeping an eye on it, we're just going to see a continued pattern, it seems like, over the next week, week and a half of rain chances. And over the area, classic El Nino, if you're familiar with the climatological pattern for that. Speaking of El Nino, very similar with the Climate Prediction Center outlooks, near to slightly above normal temperatures in the January 9th through the 15th timeframe, and then pretty heavily leaning towards an above average pattern with 50 to 60% above normal chances across our area, and even 60 to 70% chance all the way up into Northern Virginia, Maryland, and parts of Pennsylvania, Delmarva area. So just for your awareness, the normal temperatures for Greensboro, Raleigh, and Fayetteville are down there at the bottom. And you can kind of see our normal lows, even if it's calling for normal, then our normal lows are still below freezing. So it's normal for temperatures around this time to be below freezing. So it doesn't have to stay below normal for us to get any kind of wintry types of precipitation chances. Okay, I've talked a lot, but for the most part, just the weather summary here, 3 different chances really of rain with increasing intensities most likely. So very light Wednesday night, mainly south and east of Raleigh. Another better chance as the low tracks over us, and that is going to be on Saturday, with potentially for some wintry precipitation on the onset, and then an above average confidence in a wetter pattern. Longest of the systems as it moves from the central and southern plains into the Ohio Valley Monday into Tuesday, and see what kind of rainfall that gets us. And again, the main impacts, hazards, wintry precipitation, again, most likely freezing rain. So I'm sorry for the winter, the snowfall lovers out there, but will mostly be possible over the northern Piedmont Saturday morning before it transitions to all rain. Little to no accumulations are expected at this time. But keep an eye out for our on our webpage for those graphics that will include accumulations over the next couple of days as we approach into Thursday. And again, more details on this as we get closer for the Thursday briefing there. Thank you all for joining me today. Happy New Year to everybody, and we will see you on Thursday.